Hello and welcome to Running Your Stories. In this episode, I'm chatting with Maria Harron, who has recently completed her virtual London marathon and chose to raise money for Andy's Man Club, a men's mental health charity. We'll have an interesting chat about mental health and how running helps with that, and we have a chat about Maria's marathon running. So quite an interesting chat. Let's get on with the podcast. So, Maria, welcome to Running Your Stories.
Thank you for having me.
We started messaging a little on Facebook recently when you were doing your virtual London marathon and raising money for a mental health charity. And it's something that's close to my heart. I've done other podcasts about running and mental health. And so I asked you if you would come on and talk about the topic. So thank you very much for offering to come on and have a chat about running and mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So which charity was it? Do you want to remind us what that was about?
I was running for Andy's Man Club in memory of a friend called Mike, who unfortunately he took his life back in July this year. And his wife, she'd started raising money for Andy's Man Club because unfortunately Mike couldn't talk to anybody about his problems. He had depression. And she really wished that he had been able to go to Andy's Man Club and talk about his problems, and maybe he would still be here today. He's the father of 4, and yeah, I knew I was doing this marathon, and I wasn't going to do it for charity. And I thought, you know what, I need to do this for Mike. He was a runner, and I like to think that the running actually helped him during some maybe troubled times. So I said, right, I'll run for Andy's Man Club to raise money, raise awareness as well. And it was an amazing experience. It was so nice to do something positive for Mike. And Charlotte, his wife, she ran the last 10 kilometers with me, which was just fantastic. And she said how it was a really positive outcome of something that was so tragic. So she did the last 10K with me, and that was an emotional experience. And I managed to raise more than £1,000 for Andy's Man Club, and hopefully raise more awareness as well. And hopefully if it can prevent a life and a family losing out on a father, a husband, a brother, then that's fantastic. So the marathon was an amazing experience for me, having done all the training since January. And that was hard, having to go through all the training, and then the marathon was cancelled, and then you're like, oh, I'm not sure whether it's going to go on or whether it's not going to happen. But for me, running kept going through lockdown, and so just having that possibility of doing the marathon at a later date, it was in my mind to keep going with the running, because I might have a marathon to do in October, which it was really nice then to actually have that final day to go, yes, this is it. I am now going to do this marathon, which was just an incredible experience. I've run marathons before, but this was obviously a very different one, because it was you had to pick your own route, and you didn't have the crowds, you didn't have that London support, but I had an amazing support crew of friends who did every step of the way with me, which was just incredible. And I don't think I could have done that distance without my friends. It was amazing, and I do thank them very much for doing every step of the way. And I've no idea what I chatted about for 3 hours and 50 minutes, but they kept me going, and it was great fun. And then to finish with Charlotte was just amazing. So yeah, it was good. It was a very, very good day.
Yeah, as you say, a very positive thing to do. I guess it's doing something that's a celebration rather than um, sort of something more of a memorial or something. But just on the pure running side as well, as you say, after all the training for the marathon, a lot of people say, and I really like the way of looking at it, that when you actually go to your marathon race, that's your victory lap,
Yeah,
because it's all the training that's actually the hard work. That's the real
yeah,
hard work, and the marathon itself is a victory lap. It's a celebration of your running.
absolutely. And yeah, it does feel like that. And I think the more I've done marathons, this was my 7th marathon, the more I have come to realize that actually, yes, whatever happens, I've got to enjoy every step of the way. Because you've worked really hard, super hard, and particularly this time, it did feel like I was training for 9, 10 months. Just went on and on and on. But training during lockdown was, that was just a totally different experience. Having to have that experience of not being able to run with people. It
Yes.
suddenly made me realize how much you do need to run with people. So those first, I don't know how many weeks. How many weeks were we not allowed to run with people? I can't even remember now. It seemed so long ago.
It seemed a long time. I don't know whether it was 4 or 6 weeks. I don't think it was actually a huge number of weeks, but for me, it was the unknown element of that. We didn't know when we were going to be able to run with people again. I
Yeah.
think that actually made it difficult for me, because it was, okay, how do you, because like with a training plan and things, there's a date that you're aiming to, and this period of training is going to come to an end. But we were in that unknown state, which I find that kind of thing very stressful.
Yeah. And did you say it was only 4, 6 weeks? It wasn't long at all, but at the time it did feel
Yeah.
very, very hard. And I had to be very sort of military-like about it. And I changed my days of the week because I wasn't working. I was furloughed. So my week Monday became Hills Day. Tuesday was rest day. Wednesday was track day. And I had a different name for every day of the week. And so it's like, oh, okay, it's long run day today. It must be Saturday. And so it gave me a focus because I hadn't got work to do, because I was furloughed. And so, life became running. But I had to have that focus. I had to have a reason to go out and run. It wasn't just going out for a run. I'm going out to do this particular activity. And certainly for a long time, I think it was my Thursday run became jobs run. So I would message various people around who I knew were self-isolating, shielding, in fact. So they couldn't go out. So I would do little jobs for them, go and pick up prescriptions and pick up a pint of milk and things. So I'll be there with my rucksack. And so it was nice then to know that I was helping people, but going out for a run. So every day that I ran, there was a reason to do it. Because I couldn't run with people. And then when we were finally allowed to run with people, it was just such a nice feeling. Even though you're 2 meters apart, it was so nice again just to run. And then gradually we've been able to run in groups. It's like, oh, this is what it's about. It was hard. But actually as well, the thing that I discovered during lockdown was my love of running off-road. And I'd say to my husband on a Sunday morning, right, I'll be back in 3 hours. And he will say, well, where are you going? I don't know. I have no idea. I've got my phone with me. I don't know, but I'll be back within 3 hours. And I would just go off and just explore all sorts of trails and woodlands and end up in all sorts of places, all sorts of dead ends. Turn around, can't do there. That's too steep. That's too muddy. Or there's a lake there. And it was fantastic. It was so nice to just get off road and feel a bit liberated, having had that lockdown feeling of you can't go outside your house. So it was a sense of just total freedom to just get out there and run, and totally self-isolated. I would see maybe 3 people in 3 hours. because you're off road.
Yeah, and I think through that period, I felt so thankful that my hobby was running.
Yep.
Because somebody whose hobby was squash or netball or something like that, they weren't allowed to play, and some of those sports still aren't back yet. And yeah, I think we're very lucky that running's our chosen sport, and it's been one of the easiest ones to do through all of this. As you say, it's changed because we had to run solo for a period of time, but I've predominantly run trails for some time now, but I actually got a little bit of a love of roads back during the initial lockdown because the roads were so quiet. There was no cars on them, so so it was actually quite nice to run on the roads a little bit then. But yeah, as you say, it's so nice just getting out. And though I've run a lot locally during lockdown, I also went to find trails, because sometimes on my longer runs I just use the very local trails as they're just a route to get to somewhere else that I think's more interesting. But because I had to run directly from home week after week, I went out in sort of all directions from my house, northeast, southwest, and tried every single trail that anything I hadn't run on before. It's just go down there, and some of them are beautiful, fantastic trails.
Amazing.
That I'd been running past for years without going on. So yeah, it's good always sort of looking for these glimmers of light, silver lining, bits of hope in like you say, in what's been a very difficult time.
Yeah, really hard. And I went over to Ireland in the summer, and sort of fantastic, it's loads of hills and all sorts over there. And I would get very frustrated because over there they haven't got the public footpaths that we've got over here. So I could see all these hills, but it was just road running all the time. And it was lovely to come back to Yorkshire and just get all those trails back again, and the woodlands, and it's just been amazing. So I've certainly discovered a huge love of off-road running. Just not worrying about distance, but just going off and enjoying 2 hours, 3 hours of beautiful scenery or beautiful companionship with a friend. It's just been amazing. But yeah, you're right. It must have been so hard for the people who have not been able to do the sport they love. And the other side of it was I saw so many people that were out running who you think, oh, they're very new to running. You could see all the new gear, and I think a lot of people did start up running during lockdown because they had no other thing to do. A lot of new cyclists out there, so that there has been I think an increase in people who have joined us runners, and hopefully they'll continue with it. We shall see.
Yeah, definitely. I think just almost summing up about the beauty of the trails. So there's a term, forest bathing, about going out into wilderness and being surrounded by green, and the green light coming into your eye actually does something physical in your brain.
Okay.
There's a physical response in your hormones and things, and that's what I sometimes think of it as, especially on stressful days when I'm busy with work and you think, should I keep working or should I go for that planned run? It's actually, I need to go forest bathing. I need to get out there in that green and sort of reset and feel better. I personally, I find it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and I've been for some runs where I've started off on the road, and then I've seen a little trail and think, you know what, I've got the wrong shoes on, but I don't care. I'm going down that trail. And I find sometimes you just feel this sense of, just the stress is gone. So yeah, forest bathing is you're seeing all this greenery suddenly. Just feels so much better. And you haven't got the cars, you haven't got the houses, you haven't got all that noise. But then it's that different noise of the trees and the birds. And I've been reading what's it called, Running Wild, by Richard Asquith, I think his name is, who's basically talking about getting out there and running in the wild and just trying to appreciate what's going on around you, appreciating nature, and again, not having that sense of I have got to run at this pace for this length of time, this distance. And it's all about just enjoying it. Enjoy, not endure, somebody said to me recently. I was like, oh yeah. But I can still be very competitive at the same time, so
Yeah, a couple of things there. One is that I think, as you say, it's sort of, you get into this paying attention to the sounds and things around you, in that I know very clearly now, in a sort of mental map of the local area, I know where I can run to and not hear the M62. I know where I can run to, and at certain times of the year, it's just a massive sound of birds in the trees. It's a huge, like, chorus of birds, and it's, as you say, it's when you get off the roads and away from the traffic. I don't know exactly where you are, but I live very close to the M62, and I can just hear it all the time.
Okay.
I know it's probably maybe only 2 or 3 miles running to where I can not hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's make you think you could go for runs where they're sound runs. So you go purely to just go and hear things, but I'd have to not go with my friends because we would just chat the whole time.
Yeah, but
it'd have to be solo running, or you can come with me on this sound run, but you're not allowed to talk to me because you've got to listen. But it does make a difference if you're listening to birds. There was one day I was out on the canal, the Huddersfield Canal, and I heard this noise. I thought, wow, is that a woodpecker? And I thought, no, it must be somebody hammering something. And I stopped and thought, no, that's a woodpecker. I couldn't see this woodpecker, but it was just fascinating, just listening to this sound, and trying to investigate where it was coming from. And then I did come home and good old Google. I wanted to hear the sound of a woodpecker, just so I could compare it. Yep. I was like, wow, I heard a woodpecker, and I don't think I've ever heard a woodpecker before. And had I not been on the canal running, I would never have heard that sound. And it was just lovely to hear a woodpecker. Such a simple thing in life, but
like you say, it is. And very locally, the number of birds and as well, actually, there's quite a few deer, wild deer around where we are as well. And every time you see those on the trails, even within, I think there's less than a mile away from my house, I've seen them. Really close.
And did you see more during lockdown?
Definitely,
yeah, because that's the only time I've ever seen wild deer sort of out lane, and it was lovely, just turning around the corner and going, wow, there's a deer.
I had seen them before, but I've definitely seen a lot more over the last 6 months than ever before. Probably seen it more in the last 6 months than sort of the previous 3 years put together.
I can imagine they've come out, and it's been really nice to see. And this morning we went for a girly run. It was a friend's birthday, so we've traditionally now through lockdown, when it's been somebody's birthday, we can't go out, we can't go and celebrate, so we go for a run, then we go for coffee and cake, and it's lovely. But today was just beautiful because it was mainly woodland and the trees and the colours, and it was just amazing, and it just makes you feel so good, just looking at these trees, colours.
I've just been out on the Pennine Way with a friend, just chatting as well, and at one point I had to stop just to take a picture because it was just such a, like you say, the autumn scenery. It's just stop and take a look at it for a moment.
It's worth stopping just to take a look. And I've always, the last few years actually, I've said autumn is my favourite time to run, just because of the beauty of it all. It's just incredible. It's just lovely, really nice.
As long as you switch off from the rain and the mud. But
that's all good fun as well.
Exactly. That's just about choosing the right clothes.
Yeah, exactly. Got to have the right kit. Different pair of shoes, different pair of socks, different top, and absolutely.
You're fine. Yeah. And the other thing you mentioned earlier was still being competitive while you've got a large focus on enjoying the running and things. And I've very recently, the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've started training with a coach. I've always trained myself up till now, but this is a coach who's been coaching friends of mine, and and I've kind of seen that it's done in a way that can work for me, and I get sort of workouts to do, run, but everything. And I'm finding it really suits me, and obviously everybody's different, but it's all about run for this many hours. So like today was supposed to be a 2.5 hour run. I gone a little bit over. 2.5 hour run, easy to moderate pace, focuses on fun, any kind of terrain you like. That was, from my coach, my plan for today. Other runs midweek would be something like an hour, and you're going to do like 1 minute efforts with 2 minutes easy, and that needs to be on flat ground. And so it's just kind of, but it's all kind of described like that, and then the efforts are relative perceived effort.
Yeah.
Running at a particular pace, and this is because the whole method of training is based around trail runners and fell runners, off road. Because when you're off road and you're going up and down hills, trying to maintain a particular pace, it's miles per hour or minute miles or whatever, it's impossible. Be killing yourself 1 minute and completely easy the next minute. So
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so yeah, I just think it's interesting that you can still train to a very high level without needing to lose the ability to enjoy the trails and the outdoors. And certainly recently, because if I'm doing strides, there's a nice little gravel path on the side of Out Lane golf course. So do trails around the golf course to warm up, and then strides on that path. And I got some fantastic photographs of the sunrise. Just in between the sort of high effort parts, when I'm sort of going easy for a couple of minutes to recover, there's just amazing sunrises going on at the same time.
Fantastic. You're up early in the morning then.
Yeah, it's out with head torch for most of my midweek runs at the moment.
So I like to be competitive as well. My job or my life has been as a musician, so I've always had to practice as part of my life to improve, and so I understand about having to have that technical ability, practicing those scales and things so that I can play. And I sort of treat running in the same way. I love going to track. I've recently started on hill sessions, but track is, I just love it. I love that discipline, and it's like just being at a PE lesson at school. And I just love knowing that I can improve. And I've run sort of pretty much all my life, but sometimes might only be a little bit, and then years of not running, or weeks, months. But certainly the last 10 years, I've really got into it, and I'm not getting worse. I'm getting better. And I thought, well, why should getting older stop you improving? And some people are not necessarily wanting to improve their running. They love that social aspect. They love just doing it. But other people like to be able to get better at it. And certainly track is something that I find disciplines me. I love the drills, and just knowing, right, this is your set session, this is what you've got to do. It's really hard work, but boy, does it feel good when you get home and go, yes, I've worked really hard. I know, I deserve to have my tea, and it's just, it's fabulous. So for me, I find it's nice to know that I can still improve. And I remember somebody saying, it was in another running book, Murakami, I think he's called, a Japanese runner. And he said that him and running want to grow old together. I thought, yes, that's me. But for me, it's music, me and running want to grow old together. You know, we want to just do this together, and why not be able to do it for as long as you can? And I think by doing the track sessions alongside doing off-road, you've got that discipline, but because you're being coached as well, you're learning how to do it properly. And so, you know, you get told how to do the drills, and you get told how to do the stretching, and then having those easy days where you just go off and run and you're just having a nice time. I think, you know, having that balance of things is really nice. And club has very kindly agreed for funding my coaching qualifications. So I'm on my first steps to becoming a coach, which is, for me, again, that's that learning curve. You know, if I can learn more about my running, and if I can help other people to improve their running as well, then, you know, I love doing that. You know, I'm a teacher, so, you know, I like to teach. You know, if it can be running, that's fab. And if I can help other people, then, you know, it's a good thing to do. And so yes, I'm competitive, and you know, I'm competitive. You know, it's great in club having that. Yeah, and again during lockdown, having that that championship, where we can't run as a club. We can't run we're not on those start lines anymore. It's so sad, but to be able to have that unity within the club of knowing that, right, this month we are all going to be doing that particular route, but we're not going to be doing it together, but through Strava and through just messaging people, you know that we're all doing this together. And that's a really nice feeling that as a club we're still running together, even though we're not actually physically running together. And that's a really nice feeling. So yeah, then it's nice to compare times and go, hey, that person's done that, so I need to work a little bit harder because I want those points on the table. It's all good fun.
Yeah, that person, you mean Will Rishworth? He did rather well.
Yes. Oh, it's yeah, highly competitive, but yes, it's all in good nature. It's great.
It is. I mean, I did the virtual 10K, which I think is what kind of started that off.
Okay, yeah.
Which yeah, and set a 10K PB when I was doing that. So that's
very good.
Because I don't usually do 10Ks on the road, of course.
Yeah, it's great, and it's nice to have these little challenges to you know, to keep us all going, keep us united.
Yeah, it is. As you say, I think, you know, things have been very difficult in different ways for different people, of course, during COVID and lockdown and things, because for somebody like myself, I do lots of long runs regularly on my own and regularly with other people. And other than those first weeks where everything had to be solo, nothing's really changed for me in my training and who I run with and things. Because although I come along to club things now and again, I've never been massively regular with the big group runs and things.
Yeah.
More just with the sort of crazier end of the scale on the trails, that group.
Yeah, fair enough.
But that's simply because of the focus I tend to have with my training, because I tend to be training for 100 milers and things like that, rather than, you know, which, you know, it's at the extreme end of the scale.
Yeah, it's hard to find a pal to go out for an 80-mile run with you.
Yeah, I broke James Penson recently.
I can imagine. But it's amazing how you need your friends for these runs, and actually majority of my best friends are all runners. And you know, I joined Staying and Lions, I don't know, 11, 12 years ago, and would go there on a Thursday night, and then gradually I'd do track, and then life has taken over. But you know, my friends are now who I run with. So even though I now do hills and I now do track sessions, so Monday and a Wednesday I'm with the club, but the rest of the time I'm running with Staying and Lions, but they're my friends. I'm running it with my friends. And so, you know, every time I go for a run, I'm with a club member, and but not necessarily on the big runs. So yeah, I've got so many friends through running. And without those friends, I don't think I'd have any friends.
And and I think just kind of sort of circling back to the mental health topic, I was just talking about this with Kim, who I was running with this morning, because at the club she runs for, I'll probably quote the wrong name here, but they're having something along the lines of a mental health ambassador sort of role starting in the club, which is an interesting idea. And we're just talking about the fact that running is quite a unique sport, because you can run with just 2 people for 3 hours or more, and have a very deep conversation, really get into deep and meaningful things. And at other times you can go out with a group of people and just have some companionship and not talk about anything meaningful. And when you just want to clear your head and go off on your own, you can, and it's all running, and it's all part of running. And there's very, I'm sure cycling is similar, although the speed, if you're doing road cycling, I'm not sure how much of a conversation you can have while you're flying along there. But, and again, trail running as opposed to road running, it's easier to have the conversations. You tend to be going that bit slower on the trail.
Yeah.
And it's, I find it a very interesting sport like that.
Yeah. And I was talking to a guy who does my sports massages, and he's now working alongside some GP surgeries, trying to get GPs to actually refer people to him for fitness, rather than having pills. And can we work at your depression or weight loss and things going through this gym. And I said to him, when you're properly up and running with this, I'd be really interested in coming and being a run leader, or just if you've got one person who wants to go out for a run, but they just need that person to run with. I'm quite happy to run, walk. I could, as long as they're not faster than me, I can certainly run slower than I normally would. I'm quite happy to run at a different pace, just to give them that companionship and that first step in just knowing what it's so brilliant about running. And if it's going to help somebody, I'm quite happy to do that, because I do think that running does, as you say, it clears your head. Sometimes I went through all sorts of IVF things many years ago, and some of my worst days, medically, I would so need to just get out and run, and I would phone a friend, and we would go and run in the most ridiculous weathers, but I would always come back feeling so much better, because A, because I had somebody to talk to, but B, because I was just letting off some steam and going through that physical motion of running. It's just a release of everything, and sometimes I find I've run, I've had a hard day, or you're stressed about something, and even though I'm running by myself, I'm not necessarily thinking about what I'm stressed about, but I always come home going, oh, I feel so much better. It's such a release. Well, I don't know what the hormone is. Endorphins, is it?
There's endorphins, yes.
Yeah, and you just feel so much better. And whatever the weather, have you ever run in weather where it's so bad that you've really not enjoyed the running?
I'd say no. I've run in weather where it was so bad I thought if that went on for any longer I might have died. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, I can't remember too many runs where the weather has been so bad that I've gone, oh, really need to not be running. Whatever the weather, just get out there and run, and you always come home feeling so much better. And sometimes the hardest thing is just getting out the door.
Definitely, I've been through plenty of periods like that, and I'll be there, sort of standing in the lounge, talking to my wife, saying, "I know I should do this run, but I really don't feel like it."
Yeah.
And she started just saying to me, "Kevin, every time you go for a run, you come back and you never regret it.
Yeah.
Stop messing about and just go.
Just get out there."
And like I said, that's what she says to me. I'm not saying that to other people, because I know how I can procrastinate.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really well.
I can do that.
Yeah. Although I did a good job of that. I can't remember which day it was now. Very recently, one of those on and off rainy days, and I was just faffing and messing about, and I eventually got out the door, and I didn't get wet at all because it had stopped raining by the time I left the house. So sometimes works.
Sometimes you don't even notice that it's raining. You know, I can start off a run and go, oh, it's raining, and then you think, oh, when did it stop raining? I didn't even notice it. And actually, I say to people, oh, if it's raining, there's more oxygen in the air. So actually, it's a better experience anyway. And, you know, what are you going to do? You're going to melt? Not going to melt.
I need to pay attention to it to know whether I'm wearing contact lenses or glasses. You know, am I wearing that jacket or that jacket? That's all it matters to me, to be honest.
But it is getting out the door, and sometimes if you know that you're meeting a friend, or a friend is coming to meet you at a certain time, you know, it gets you out that door. So again, having that companionship of knowing that if you don't go, you're almost letting somebody down. So, you know, if there are people out there that want to run, then, you know, I'm very happy to go, hey, come on. I'm happy to do it.
And this is where I think, you know, running clubs are a brilliant thing. As I say, I'm kind of, in a lot of ways, I don't use the club as much, anywhere near as much as I could. But I know if I want some companionship on a run anytime, I can put a message on the club Facebook group. And there'll be a number of people at whatever pace, whatever kind of terrain, whatever kind of time, whatever kind of distance. There'll be somebody that wants to do it.
Definitely.
And I'm maybe at one end of the scale on my running. You know, I'm one of the outliers, and I would find it easy to find somebody to run with. So, you know, it's really a great thing. I do wonder, because I'm also a leader in Home Valley Mountain Rescue Team, and something we've talked about in the team there is, you know, because again, within the team, we can message and we'll find somebody at least to walk with. There's some runners in the team, and I do run with other people there as well. But it's the people who aren't messaging, maybe are the people who actually need the help to get out the door and run, or in the team we're talking get out the door and walk, or even just have a phone call and, you know, have a chat. And I just wonder if there's anything that we can do to encourage others. Certainly the virtual championship encourages people to get out, because again, I think that's been done very well. It's done in a fun way. It's not, it's so you can be competitive, but you also get a lot of kudos just for taking part. You know, it's not only the people at the top end of the scale that are celebrated, everybody's celebrated. Which is good. So I don't know if you have any other thoughts about that.
The people who are not into that competitive side of things, and who maybe haven't got that, haven't got that close-knit community of friends initially, and just it's trying to get those people who haven't quite got the courage to come along to group runs, and certainly, you know, during lockdown it's harder because people are wary of meeting up with people. So I'm not quite sure how you could reach those people, but I would, you know, if there was a plan to try and reach them, I would certainly be up for to encourage it.
I think in some ways it's, some of these things are worth talking about just from the point of view of highlighting how difficult it is. Even when you think hard about it, there aren't easy answers, because I think as well, some people who would like to help then start beating themselves up that they haven't done enough to help. But it's not easy. There's no easy answers to it. I think, I mean, we're lucky with a club like Staying in Lions. It's a very large club, and so there's a lot of different options all the time. And I think that's one of the answers, is because some options will suit some people and they won't suit other people. And because again, when a few people put together the virtual fell races, that actually, it got so many people trying out a fell race route who I don't think have ever been to an actual fell race before. And that's great. You know, just encouraging people to try something different. That was really good to see. So that was.
So you said there was somebody you're running with this morning, who's an ambassador for mental health within.
Well, she's the running club that she's in is looking at that kind of role, like an ambassador for mental health role. She's actually going to be sort of helping the person who's doing it, because she runs a team of social workers, so she has a lot of sort of formal training in mental health, and so that's it's definitely an interesting idea. I think it's a lot of responsibility for somebody to take on. Same as, a lot of clubs who have kids in the club, end up with somebody taking the responsibility for child welfare, or whatever the correct term is. It's a lot of responsibility to take on a role like that. So I can certainly understand people's hesitation over it. I think in a lot of ways, running clubs just are natural sort of community cohesion bodies, and really help people a lot. I don't know whether it's a good idea to formalize it a little to try and make sure you're not then missing some those few extra people that really sort of need it, or is it better to keep it all really informal because there's other places that are more expert at formalizing things, but then if you have a little bit of structure, you can help to refer people into the right kind of help. So it's an interesting area.
It certainly is, and certainly my GP surgery are involved in the scheme that's linked up with the park runs.
Yes.
And that's fabulous. It's a shame that park runs are not actually running at the moment, but it's a great idea that the GPs are being ambassadors to actually try and put people in that direction of, right, hey, why don't you try this? And again, that community atmosphere at a park run, it's amazing. Huddersfield's one of the biggest ones in the country, and I just love that feeling of like, wow, there are so many people in Huddersfield that are doing this park run right now, and it's just such a feel good time. And it doesn't matter how fast you are, whether it's the front or at the back. I love the fact that we're all doing this together, and some people don't like the Huddersfield Park Run because there are so many people at it. I remember just looking around and going, wow, look, everywhere you look there are people running, and we're all running with friends together. It's a great feeling.
That's it. It's usually about 800 people, that one, isn't it? It's
huge.
It's good.
And if we can get more people involved in that sort of thing, through GP surgeries, or maybe if there is a way through into a club to bring people through to a park run, I think it's really important and could help a lot of people. I do find a lot of people say, oh, I could never run, I'm too old to run, or my knees hurt. And I think, well, maybe you could try it. For some people, no, then they've tried it, they're not going to do it. But I do think that a lot of people could run, feel the benefits of it, and make friends. And so many benefits. And for me, I find I have to run now. It's just part of life. It's like cleaning my teeth. That's what I do. And it used to be that I had to make time for it, but now I just do it. It's not I've got to try and fit it in. It's that I will fit it in.
Yeah.
Got to.
So what about the potential risk when you get to that level of running, where when you get injured and can't run?
I'm grabbing my wooden table here. I've never been injured. I'm just going to grab the table again. I haven't. I've seen so many people who have had so many injuries, and they've been out for weeks, months. I've been so lucky, and even on the virtual marathon, I fell at the halfway point, and I think back to it now, and added on 10 minutes to my time, and I'd got a bruised face. I had cuts and bruises all down my leg, but they were cuts and bruises, and I ran the second half of the marathon actually faster than the first half of the marathon, and it was all okay. But I think back to it and think, oh, I could have broken my leg, I could have broken my cheekbone, I could have sprained an ankle. I didn't at all, and I was so lucky. And I do wonder how I would cope if that awful thing happened and I did get injured. But I wonder whether, I don't know, I'm more aware of people being injured, and I try and do stretches and I try and be good and look after myself. Back off if I feel as though I'm doing too much. Although some people would maybe disagree with what I'm saying there at the moment. But whether there's that awareness of my body and just getting older and just knowing how much to push myself, I don't know. But I've certainly been lucky. I'm touching the wooden table yet again. But I don't know how I would cope if I had 6 weeks where I was not allowed to run. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think I think there is an element of luck to sort of not getting injured for a long period of time, but there's also the elements of the fact that you do different types of running, the track and the trails and the road, rather than just doing road, for example. I think that helps a lot. And so I think you probably, and you must be, because it's been a long time running without ending up with injuries, you must be doing things right for you. It's so
that for me, whatever I'm doing seems to work.
Exactly. So yeah, you'd have to be careful about changing it. If you decided to, you want to really see what heights can you reach, I think you'd have to be very cautious about making any major changes.
Yeah, well, I've got a place at the Lakeland 50 mile in July. So, this
Fantastic.
is totally unknown territory. So it'll be really, fantastic. You did the Lakeland 100, didn't you?
Yes, that's my Lakeland 100 jumper, and I have a place for next July as well.
Excellent. Well, my brother's doing the 100 and I'm doing the 50. And I cursed my brother rather a lot once. He said to me, "Oh, you need to enter this ballot. It's closing at midnight tonight, and you need to enter it. You're likely to not get a place because it's really hard to get a place." So I entered it, and then I got this email, and I felt sick when it said, "Congratulations, you've got a place on the Lakeland 50 miles." And I thought, "Oh no, what have I done?" And I felt sick for about 3 hours thinking, I don't know whether I can do that. I really don't know whether I can do that. But now it's all sort of sunk in. I'm thinking, hey, it's there's a lot of mental side to it. I've got to get my head around it.
Yep.
I can't think about pace. It's got to be time on my feet. I've got to really learn to enjoy running, because I'm going to be doing it for a long time. And, my brother says, yeah, aim for 12 hours. 12 hours? That's a long time. And, then people like yourselves are doing the full 100. That's just amazing. So yes, I'm very aware of the fact that I've now got to put myself in a totally different direction. I cannot get injured between now and then, because if I do get injured, that's time out. So being so much more aware of looking after myself, trying to do it properly. I want to be able to enjoy it, and so I've got to learn to run in a totally different way, with a completely different mindset. And luckily, I've got friends who will. I'm planning on doing the White Rose Ultra route between now and Christmas. And already some of my friends are saying, right, well, I'll join you for a little bit of it. I'll join you for a little bit of it. And it's like, that's great. If I can just get round and know that I've run 31 miles between now and Christmas, then, hey, I've already got
I think my training plan has me doing a 30-mile run next Saturday, if you want to join me.
Let me think about that one.
Yeah.
But then, I found on lockdown, when I was going off for those runs, and I was saying to my husband, right, I'm off for 3 hours. So I had that 3 hour time scale. And I had no idea how many miles I would run during that time. But I found it so much easier to think, okay, I'm running for 3 hours. That's my time slot, rather than I'm going to run 18 miles. And then you're constantly going, oh, that's 1 mile done. I've got 17 to do. Oh, that's 2 miles done.
Yeah.
I found it so much easier to think in, right, a block of time. And so, over the next few months, it's just going to be, right, I'm going to go off for 4 hours. I'm going to go off for 5 hours and just see what I can do. And getting used to walking up a hill rather than running up a hill. And just knowing, hey, this is going to take me twice as long, but I'm going to walk up this hill because I've got to be on my feet for so many hours. And so, yeah, just putting a completely different mindset on it. But no, I'm not going to get injured.
Yeah, I think just kind of coming back to that about the injuries, so something I think I've learned, and it's you never know until the next injury, and so, something I had a really good conversation about with Jacob Snowinski, who was on a podcast a few episodes ago, is that injury is temporary. Obviously, if you have something really extreme, like you're in a car crash or something, you lose limbs, it's a little bit more permanent. But even then, is it a permanent injury, or is it temporary because you're learning how to use then an artificial limb or something? And a lot of people have a lot of success with that. And it again, it's back to this thing that we had at the start of lockdown, when we didn't know how long it was going to go on for. It mentally, it started to feel permanent because we didn't know when it was going to end. We knew it was temporary, but there was no end date on it. And again, that was for me, it was a little bit of practice of that mentality of how you deal with injuries. Of, okay, this is temporary. What are the steps to do to get past this injury and get back to running? So step number 1, I need to be able to get full range of motion. Step number 2, I need to start building strength. Once I've got full range of motion, then start building strength. Step 3, I can start to build up the running again. And it's just, I've had enough injuries because, well, I guess it's coming out, it must be 4 years I've been running for. And in the first 18 months, I did the Spine Challenger, the 108 miles. So I've had injuries. So because I just
not do 100-miler then, because that gets you injuries.
Well, it gets you injuries if you're not prepared for it. I did the inaugural Stainland 105 in July with
wow,
which is when I broke James because he didn't he dropped out. But that was the first time I've run 100 miles completely injury free. I was very tired at the end of it, but completely fine. I think I had one blister. There was something like that, and it was slow. But that's kind of the point. My body was ready to. I was on my feet for about 32 hours, I think. Like I say, it was slow. It was steady. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was a great experience. And then it was kind of, okay, now I can use this to be able to do that again faster. I mean, actually, the Lakeland 100 last year, I had no injury as such. I had some very, very sore feet and lots of blisters and very sort of damaged skin on my feet. But it wasn't, no real injuries as such.
And you recovered quickly afterwards?
Well, I think recovery is a really interesting thing, especially when you're doing the I'd say 50 miles upwards, and that you can feel recovered very quickly. Like after I did the Stainland 105, within 2 days, I knew I could run if I decided I wanted to. I felt fine. But certainly, if you do go running and start pushing yourself very soon afterwards, that's when people often get injured. Because your body is really depleted and exhausted. and muscles are just weak because they've just been strained so hard,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the body starts cannibalizing the muscles, and they will come back, and they'll come back stronger, but you've got to give them that time to recover.
Yeah. Definitely.
And so yeah, I think, when are you recovered? Again, it's one of the reasons why, because I'm through lockdown, I got into a thing of running sort of 50-mile weeks every week.
Yeah.
Really, really well. Then kind of the height of that, I think I ran 6 ultras in 8 weeks. At the sort of, once I could start running with other people, with and then did the 100 and odd miles, and then recently I did 3 ultras in 8 days, which I don't recommend. It's not good for
No.
me.
How long were each of those?
Well, you see, the way that happened was that I'd signed up for the Hardmore 60 when races
Yeah.
started again, because I wanted to do something. And then I had the opportunity to do pacing for Sabrina Vergio on her Pennine Way FKT, which there's no way I was going to turn that down. But that was the weekend before. And so I did 2 like 30-mile stints with Sabrina, and then ran the Hardmore 60 the following Saturday.
No way.
So technically it's 3 ultras in 8 days.
Wow. Do you have a recovery week then?
So it was just after that I've started being coached, and so I had a recovery week the way I would do recovery.
Yeah.
And then I started with the coach, and the plan then was, Kevin, you're having another recovery week because you're not recovered yet. And that's actually the most interesting thing I found, working with a coach, is that I am not tired all the time. After a session, my legs will hurt, and a particular part of my legs will hurt. But by the time the next sort of workout comes around, my legs are completely recovered.
Wow.
And it's really interesting, because I'm pushing myself, I'm running faster, and I'm doing that slow. Let's say, a run when I'm pushing myself 3 times a week. But it's very periodized, you're pushing yourself for this many minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're backing off, and then this many minutes, and then you rest and recovering, and it's very interesting, because I've read all the theory, I've listened to podcasts about all the theory. But, clearly, while I've been training myself, I've not been allowing myself to recover enough between runs.
And that's easy to do, to not allow yourself to recover.
Because you feel okay, so you go running again, and then you're just a bit tired, so you run again.
The first run I did after the marathon this time, it was only 2 days afterwards. It was just 5K, and it was the hardest run of my life. Not of my life, but it was. It felt harder than doing the marathon 2 days before. I was like, how can this 5K feel so hard? And it was purely just my legs were just tired. But I was just thinking about the 50-mile ultra. I've talked to various club members who I thought, hey, I think you've done this 50-mile ultra before. And it's been fascinating hearing their immediate reaction. And I would say, what are your thoughts on having done it? And they're like, it's brilliant. It's so exciting. I'm thinking, okay, all right. So, you're not mentioning the pain and the training and the how horrible the horrible bits were. It's just this sheer wow, it was just such an incredible experience. And I think, oh, okay, that's really interesting. And that's I'd like to be on that end of it, to be able to say to somebody else, hey, that was really good.
And
imagine it, but
I think you get that amplified with an event like the Lakeland, because it's a natural thing for people to remember when you've achieved something. Remember the good things about that achievement, and you start to forget about the hardship and the pain and everything else. That's natural. But then the Lakeland event itself, the way it's organized, the way everybody at the event is like camping there for the weekend and supporting each other, and congratulating each other. It's such a great event. It amplifies all that positive side of things.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely the most fun, difficult event I've done.
I love that. The most fun, difficult thing. Yes, I can remember that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've done more fun things that were just for fun, but you know that
It was a fun, difficult one.
yeah, because it is a difficult event. It's tough. It will batter your feet. You know, find there's a Strava segment near us in St. Brick Lane. You must have you come across that segment? Not far from the deer farm.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just a lane downhill or uphill, whichever way you run it, and it's full of bricks, and it's like pointy and slippy and slidey. Yeah, run up and down there 100 times, and you'll get an idea what the Lakeland route's like. It's rocky. It batters your feet. It's slippy.
Yeah. That fear of falling.
Yes, yeah, but because everybody that's then on this campsite for the weekend, everybody's doing something difficult together and supporting each other through something difficult. It just gives this extra element of camaraderie and you know, like I say, this respect for any and every finisher. And they have this great thing, and hopefully they don't have to change it too much next year because of COVID, but when you finish, the sort of finisher funnel sort of thing, it comes through the marquee where everybody's eating and drinking. And so everyone who finishes has a crowd of people there, even when you finish at 2 a.m. or something, because the previous people that have finished are all eating and drinking and hanging out together. And so all the finishers get funneled past all the other finishers. And it's really great.
Oh, it sounds amazing. I did see the little video of the Lakeland 50, and it made me quite emotional watching it, thinking, wow, that's going to be me. And my brother, he's a runner, and he's done quite a few ultras, and he's down for the Lakeland 100 next year. And for years he's been saying to me, you've got to do an ultra, you'll love an ultra. And I was like, I always wanted to do a marathon, and I always want to keep doing marathons, but I've got no interest in ultras. And he sent me a book, which I can't remember the name of right now. And he said, right, if you read this book, by the time you've finished it, you'll want to run an ultra. So I started reading this book, and I got halfway through this book, and I thought, I'm going to have to stop reading this book because I am wanting to do an ultra. I can't finish reading this book. Anyway, I did finish reading the book. And the thing that made me want to do one was that companionship. It's not about the time. It's about doing this together. And he said, you know, there are so many stories, and my brother's told me stories about how you get chatting to people, and there's people trying to help each other. And he said it's just such a lovely atmosphere because people are in this together, which people are when they're racing. But, you know, when we're racing, we're really trying to get that position. But doing the ultra, it's more about actually doing it. And that sense of achievement. And, you know, whether I will get the bug for it, certainly my brother desperately wants me to get the bug for it afterwards. I don't know. We will see. We will see. One step at a time. You know, he's basically saying, right, I'll sign you up for the 100 for the year afterwards. I'm like, no. But we'll see. It's a challenge, and it's quite nice to have another challenge ahead. You know, I've done lots of marathons and I've done all sorts of things, so different way of doing things. And looking forward to it.
Let me know when you want me to take you around the local trail marathon route.
Oh yes, you mentioned that does look really, really nice. I looked at the route, thought, wow, that would just be incredible. How far is that one though? Oh, that's the marathon, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's a route that I've got. I mean, it does go from my door, and it's almost exactly a marathon distance. But I've got a slightly shorter version of it that I ran last Sunday. If you look at that on Strava, so I think that was about 22 miles. But I changed part of it during my run, because I think I'd mentioned to you that there's part that's now a motorbike course, which you don't want to run down the middle of that. But then I'd also run another route that kind of crossed part of the trails, and I found a better trail on part of it. And so I've just started tinkering with it a little bit. Like I say,
improve that run.
yeah,
No, an off-road marathon would be nice. And again, that's something my brother keeps saying. You know, you need to get off the road, go and do an off-road marathon, which, you know, I'm getting my head round.
yeah. The Yorkshireman's a nice one.
Yes, I would quite like to do that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of things, you know, possibilities. Who knows? But maybe not the 100. Not me.
Yeah. Everything's temporary, you know, things change.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
Yeah, definitely. As long as, I said, you know, me, running and music, as long as we can gracefully grow old together, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's
good.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So I'm just thinking of circling back to mental health to wrap up. Do you have a kind of a closing message? How do we sum up some of what we've chatted about?
For me, if people haven't experienced running, find a buddy. Find a buddy and run. It's a lot harder by yourself. I certainly started off, the proper bug for running started when I had that friend, my initial running buddy, Sharon. And, you know, that started it all off. And having got that friendship, that really, really helps. And, you know, give it a try, whatever the weather. Get yourself some running shoes and you know, you don't need a lot of kit. You can obviously get a lot of kit, but you don't have to have a lot of kit, and experience it in all weathers, because it's just fab out there, and off-road as well. Just explore. It's so exciting.
Yep, I think that's a great way of summing up. So thanks very much, Maria, for coming on. It's been lovely to have a chat.
I will take you up on one of those runs one day.
Okay, I have a bit of a reputation for ending up with river crossings and all kinds of interesting things happening.
Well, you know, one of my first club runs was with Colin, and we were coming along the canal, and he said to me, "Hey, you don't mind getting your feet wet, do you?" And I went, "I don't know what you mean." And then suddenly we were running through a river, and, you know, so, you know, all sorts can happen, you know, jumping over walls to avoid cows, and, you know, there's all sorts of stories to tell. So yeah, who knows?
Excellent. Right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Running Your Stories, and thank you, Maria. I really enjoyed that chat. Please follow us, like us, subscribe on your podcast provider, on Instagram, Facebook, whichever you prefer. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.